It reminds me of something that I've been thinking about this last week. Because essentially, like, even after our conversation last week, it was something that was bugging me about it, right? And at some point, I come to the conclusion I have a tendency or some sort of orientation towards solutions. So within my every time I'm talking, that's my orientation.
Right.
What that does is it makes your brain think differently. Because like we talked about the video last week from John McWhorter and Glenn
And
Loury.
now, yeah.
And then, you had a little bit of pushback on it, right? Just because of, I guess, people, it's almost like they were ignoring some of the aspects of, I don't know, black plight or whatever. Let's
Sure.
call it that.
Let's call it that.
And and so for me, like I didn't take as much issue with it. But I understood where you were coming from. But so for me, what it ended up being is like, oh, I can't. I am always because I'm solution oriented. I think
Hmm.
I do ignore things, but I don't tell people why I'm ignoring the thing within the conversation.
Hmm.
It's just my orientation to say, if it doesn't help me solve the problem, I don't care.
Right.
In a brainstorming exercise, it's kind of cool to deal with ideas that are possibles for me. But when we're talking about it's not even that we have to be taught. Well, I'm thinking about solving a problem because
Right.
politics to me, or it's some goal, it's some end that we're trying to get to.
Hmm.
If you're not oriented towards solving a problem, you can do this thing what I would think is called like a whataboutism. Well, what about this? And what about that? And what about those things? But because I'm thinking about a solution, I'm like, that what about doesn't help me get a solution. So therefore it's out there. It
Hmm.
doesn't even matter.
What problem were you trying to solve, you think?
No, I mean, when I'm thinking about the context that they had with their conversation is that we are beyond a black grievance era of politics. It just doesn't work anymore. It's not something that we're going to it's not going to be effective as a model for affecting change.
I mean, that's a
And
very bold claim. I'll say it that way.
it's a bold claim, but I guess what all it really comes down to is it's similar to me to what there becomes a fatigue. Just like in the
There is a
medical field,
fatigue.
people talk about fatigue. There's a sympathy fatigue.
Yeah, 100%. That part is yes, exactly what's happening.
And it's not helpful that some of the messages, the way that they're being presented, like even if I don't know if you've caught some of I don't know if it's a media thing or what, but everything is amplified by media.
Yes.
There was a murder case in Texas, Carmelo Anthony. Have you heard about this kid stabbed a kid?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. And so he got found guilty last week,
I mean,
sentenced to 35 years.
he stabbed that guy. That happens.
He did. But see, the attention is not being put on that. The attention is in what ways can we soften the blow for
Hmm.
Carmelo? Like even the people like so Stephen A. Smith, one of his positions is that, okay, yeah, that was murder. You should get charged. But somebody else got 10 years. Why you get 35 years? Which I think is a legitimate question at the same time. But one of the things he's saying is like, well, that other person was charged with negligent homicide. This guy was charged with murder. I mean, obviously these are two different charges. So, I mean, that's kind of a reason of it's part of the charging. I mean, the sentencing factors. Then his other thing was like, well, there weren't any black people on the jury, and you're supposed to be judged by a jury of your peers. I mean, defense attorneys are involved in the jury selection process.
Right.
So,
But
so
even if he was judged by a jury of his peers, what did the facts of the case say? Where are we going with this? It's like, I mean, I'm okay with us having a jury of his peers. Does the evidence show him actively doing this? Did he actually do it? Did he actually commit this? Do we have do we have any reason to think that a different jury would say, you you don't qualify for the full extent of the punishment of the law? I'm like, I don't know if we have any evidence to say that. I don't think that's true at all. I think he qualifies for punishment. Now, we could argue about how much punishment, but
Right.
I think he qualifies for punishment though. I think
But
he
that was the argument. That that was the argument. Well, first the argument was this is self-defense.
Hmm.
And the reason why I bring this case up is because there's so many ridiculous arguments. Like some people were like, he shouldn't do any jail time at all. Y'all just targeting him because he's black. It's just a black man defending himself. The facts of the case don't really support that claim, really. But there are levels to the ridiculousness of the conversation. So
It's true.
it's to me, it's like you get these rationalizations. People just think like, yo, whoever, if they black, they should just get off, which
Right.
that's a ridiculous thing. I don't want to involve myself in that level of
I mean,
conversation.
that is racism, and we can outright dismiss it. It's like, okay, if you're going to be this biased, say he's part of the people who have melanin, therefore he can't be wrong. We cannot punish him. I'm like, oh, that's not how that works. Society can't function that way. That's not what
No.
when we say equality, that's not what people fought and marched and died for. What you're talking about is a actual preference of immunity, and we don't have that, and nor should we. That's not how society works.
Yeah, but it becomes indistinguishable between some people. It's indistinguishable when you because people don't have a reasonable
This is not critical
defense
thinking.
for this claim.
No,
It's not this.
we're not thinking critically. We're just saying I like him. This person looks like me. Bad things have happened before, and therefore we shouldn't allow this thing to happen here. I'm like, oh, that's not a good reason. It's not a good reason. That's not a good reason. I hear you though. Bad things have happened.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing, right? So that to me is the back door when we say like, because I would distinctly remember that you were saying like there's a history in the country that people remember
Mhm.
on some level,
Yeah,
and so
like
that's the bad things have
right.
happened,
But
right?
that goes back to countering Rick Wharton's and Lowry's claim that like we're past the race thing. I'm like, we are not
Oh,
past the
okay.
race thing. That whole claim is wrong. Like nothing you say is right. I mean, that is a claim that they continually put out there because they are not personally experiencing the terrible things that have happened in the past, and that's fair. That is a thing to say. Like, hey, I am not experiencing this, and therefore it's not 1968. I'm like, that is great for you. I'm so happy you are not experiencing all the terrible in the world that could happen. That doesn't mean all the terrible in the world isn't happening. We really should go back to that point and we're like, this is this a problem for somebody? How much of a problem is it for that somebody? Why? And what are we doing about that? What steps can be done in that real sense? And when grifters come in to actually take advantage of it and then make these outlandish claims like, getting actual murderers off, like, all right,
Right.
that's injustice. Now we're talking about injustice. So now
But it's
we're wrong.
indistinguishable at some point.
I
That's
mean,
the part that I'm confused with.
I mean, people have problems critically thinking, and they don't distinguish it. Sure, but between you and I, we can easily distinguish it and say like, well, but see, over here justice happens, and over here we didn't do justice. So we can say that there is a real standard between if a person does a thing, a person gets a punishment, and there's a law for that. And we're like, oh, but okay. So sometimes they did the thing that was proven that they did it, and then they got the result that was prescribed for that. And sometimes that happens, and then sometimes it doesn't happen. When it happens, it's justice. When it doesn't happen, it's injustice. Doesn't matter if it's white. Doesn't matter if it's black. Doesn't whatever. We
I
have
mean,
we have a standard.
I hear you. It's just so much nuance in there that to me you have to hold firm on the principle, like
Yes.
firm. Like because if you leave any wiggle room in well, kind of sometimes people have had an experience that make them feel a certain way about reality and they're not perceived. Once you let that worm, that hole open,
Right.
then there's no integrity. There's no integrity in the position. And so and when I say nuance, there's the nuance of the totally ridiculous claim that he shouldn't do any jail time in this particular example that I'm bringing up. But then it's the nuance into, well, such and such only got 10 years and he got 35 years. And so now it just seems that the argument is always how can we soften the blow in some way because this person is black,
Right.
because of the history. Yo, do you want him to get 10 years? Or do you think the other guy should have got 35 years?
Right.
But that comes back to my point of, and this is for me a fundamental point that I wish I didn't want to make, but I do want to make about black people. It's like y'all are not rule setting people. Like we are not rule setting people because to
What
me
way?
because you've got to tell me what the rules should be. And that should be and this is getting back to my point of when you're trying to solve a problem, when you're trying to um, posit a principle, you have to do all of that work up front.
Right.
This is the rule. This is and that requires you can't do whataboutism. You can't say what about this and what about like you can't do it in the sense that that's the conversation, end of the conversation. You have to do it in the sense that okay, we've acknowledged it, but how do we now make a decision in the determination? And that's what I hate about it because you can if you're not in the mindset of solving problems, you can do whataboutism all day long. And at the end of the day, it's useless to me. Brainstorming is cool if it's
It's a
got a
goal.
point to it at the
There
end.
you go. You gotta you
You know
gotta be
what I'm saying?
brainstorming towards something.
That's the that's the thing that's troubling to me because the reason why I said what I said is that that's the only way that you can get to an argument of, oh, well, why did he get 35 years and he got 10 years? Why are you not in the conversations of how to set laws, set criteria for state for sentencing?
Right?
Like I don't. It's almost like people will like, well, the law is this thing that we're not involved in, and when we get the outcomes, we can either accept or reject. And but that puts you in like this secondary position, like this subservient position, which I hate. Like it's your system too. What do you think we're supposed to
What
do
are
with
you
it?
gonna do about it? We are in this together. We made the system together. It's our responsibility together. It's not about me coming up with the solution and me coming up with fixing everything and doing it all for us. We are doing this.
Right. But then they just make it seem like, oh, the government just and I am generalizing heavy, right?
Mm.
But a lot of people do this thing where they're just like, oh, the government just does what it does, and either I like it or I dislike it. And that's what I mean. What I'm saying, like, what do you think we should do? Under what is the criteria that would make us give a person more time? And those are never the conversations that I encounter.
Nope.
That's never the rule setting, the law setting nature. It's it's always I either like the consequence that was given to me or I
Hmm.
dislike the consequence that was given to me. But it's always something that was given to me, not
Hmm.
something that I set or help set.
Right. Right. And that's certainly a problem in the conversation to start at a place of weakness or dependence. It's like, oh, we can't start here. Doesn't make any sense. We don't have any control over that. Let's go back to the thing that we have control over. What are the things that we want to do about things we can actually handle? Yeah.